I'm Niall English. I'm the founder and CTO at AquaB, and I want to talk a bit about AquaB's journey in the past, I suppose, 6, 7 years, and how we have developed to the point that we're now doing commercial deployment with Saudi Aramco in the energy sector. We're making progress in water treatment as well, and I want to talk about the role of European and EIC services in that. So, AquaB was set up in 2020 based upon my invention 9 years ago of a way of generating tiny bubbles using static electric fields instead of membranes, so that there's no membrane blockage. And we set up an EIC project 3.5 years ago in late 2022. That finished a year and a half ago, the 2-year project. It was very successful. We accomplished all of our goals and then some. And since about a year and a half ago, we've been making great use of the EIC's BAS, and I'll talk a bit about that later in more detail. We signed our first commercial contract last autumn with Saudi Aramco. We've been working with them for 5.5 years. And we got great support from the Spin for EIC legal negotiation services for that. And I'll speak a bit about that later through Corvers, which is very beneficial for us. In terms of the senior leadership group within the company, we have the 6 individuals here. I'm the founder and CTO, and we've got a good mix between men and women. In terms of executive positions, technology, engineering, business accountancy, marketing, overall business leadership. Briefly about nanobubbles themselves. Well, what are they? Well, imagine if you have, say, a glass of carbonated water that you'd buy in the supermarket. Those bubbles, about 1 or 2 millimeters in size, rise in 10 seconds. Then, if we have a smaller bubble, for example, the bubble that you would have at the bottom of a glass of beer or champagne, just about visible to the naked eye, about 1/20th of a millimeter. Technically, that's called a mesoscale bubble. That rises more slowly, maybe over 20 minutes. So, the smaller the bubble, the more slowly it rises. Now, with my invention, we can make tiny bubbles that are so small. For example, these nanobubbles here on the right-hand side, compared to the larger bubbles that we see on the left-hand side. And you see that on both the left-hand side pictures, we have a similar volume of gas, similar volume of bubbles. It's just that the surface area is so much larger in the case of nanobubbles. And those nanobubbles don't rise. So they stay in the water, meaning that we can put lots of extra gas in water way above the solubility limit. Why is this important? Well, for example, in aeration of water, wastewater treatment, or for example, in fish farms. We all know that in summertime, there's lots of fish kills. Why? Because the level of dissolved oxygen goes down as temperature goes up. But we can get around that by putting extra tiny bubbles that don't rise in the water. And we can do it in a low energy way, for example, using solar panels without needing membranes. So this really is a very important sort of disruptive physics invention. Right now, in terms of some of the features of our technology, this electric field approach means that there's no membranes and therefore no blockages. The power consumption is very low. We can use it for any type of liquid, not just water. So we can enhance the calorific efficiency in diesel and petrol engines. Any gas type you like, whether it's air, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide. We can retrofit it, for example, to existing processes, link it up to solar panels or wind farms. And the IP position is very robust in terms of patenting. And there's also no moving parts. So there's good reliability, reduced downtime. It is a platform-wide technology. It can be used for any type of water, gas, liquid gas operation. I'm going to talk more about the oil and gas sector today, where our bridgehead market is, although we're doing lots of work in the water treatment sector as well. So in oil and gas, of course, it can be used for water treatment within oil and gas, for example, oil water separation, ballast water treatment, produce water treatment from the wells, growing algae, and then, of course, fracking itself in terms of EOR, enhanced oil recovery. So by us adding nanobubbles into the frack water to be then injected into the oil well, the surface tension goes down, so the frack water can then penetrate the pore sediment matrix more easily to get oil out. So, for example, last December, we were doing commissioning in Saudi Aramco on our commercial contract. So here's 5 of our nanobubble generators, the Vulcan 500 series, linked up together. You can see on the left, there's 5 of them there, and they're all joined up with a manifold there. And we were able to get the supersaturation around 15% above Henry's law saturation, and this in only a few hours. And this was able to survive the trauma of 300 bar wellhead pump injection. So we effectively did the whole frack job. The only thing that was missing was an oil well last December, and now we're heading off to Saudi Arabia in the next month or so to do oil well trials for several weeks. Now with a real oil well and fracking for real. In terms of some of our achievements, we've optimized the product design. We've TRL 9 now with CE marking, HX ratings, outdoor IP ratings. Got a good commercial team in place. We're protecting our brand. For example, with Access Plus, we're doing trademark submissions. And also, working on more product patent submissions beyond the sort of background technology. I think marketing is very important, the right kind of marketing. So we've done thought leadership articles, scientific articles, arranging to go to webinars, gone to trade fairs, for example, with the EIC trade fair team, the ITF program. And we're very active on the marketing front. To talk specifically about Spin-Free IC, we got great advice from them in terms of legal negotiation last year when we were working on our first commercial contract with Ramco after 5 years of working up to that point on R&D contracts. So they were able to help us navigate the detailed contract landscape, the IP clauses, the foreground, the background. They gave us very good advice through our discussions. And they really made us ready for the whole actual contractual reality of delivering the contract with the appropriate IP treatment so that we own our own foreground IP as distinct from the project IP itself, which is very, very important. And also we benefited through this maneuvering from the ITF, the International Trade Fair Program, another great initiative from the EIC, for example, through GITEX global and North Africa attendance into the Middle East and North African Maghreb market. So that's been very useful. We've also used the EU IP Help Desk to get advice on our patenting strategy, which was important for the Aramco contract and in general. And through Access Plus, we've also been, getting great assistance in terms of trademarking and product patents now to expand our product patent portfolio from the sort of background patents of the electric field approach